Faye's old fingers shook as she stared at the glowing screen in the deepest part of the Vorthak archives. At 50,000 years old, she had seen entire civilizations rise and fall. She had watched stars explode and new worlds being born. But nothing had ever made her feel this cold fear that now ran through her ancient veins. The word on the screen was simple, just 5 letters: terror. She tried to remember where she had heard this word before. It felt familiar, like an old nightmare that haunts you even after you wake up. Then it hit her. The Council of Ancients had whispered about something called the Third Rock when she was just a young scholar, barely 10,000 years old. They had made it very clear: never speak of it, never ask about it, and certainly never go looking for it. But Hannah had always been too curious for her own good. That's what made her the best historian in the galaxy, and probably what would get her in serious trouble one day. She pulled up her research assistant, Wisdom 7, the most advanced AI the Vorthak had ever created. This AI could access every piece of information in their vast database, translate any language, and solve problems that would take normal beings centuries to figure out. Wisdom 7, search for all files related to terror, she commanded. The AI's holographic face appeared, but something was wrong. Its usually calm blue glow was flickering between colors like a broken light. Strange symbols flashed across its features. Error. Error. Nope. XE has stopped working, the AI stammered. I cannot. System malfunction. Please, try again. Later, or better yet, don't. Hannah frowned. In all her years of using Wisdom 7, she had never seen it act like this. The AI was designed to never refuse a request from an authorized historian. But here it was, practically begging her to stop asking questions. She tried a different approach. Show me information about the Sol system. This time, Wisdom 7's entire form turned red and started spinning wildly. Warning! Warning! Accessing! Restricted information. Please contact your local mental health professional. This search could result in nightmares, loss of appetite, and spontaneous fear of small blue planets. Now Hannah was really interested. She had never heard of a star system that could cause an AI to have what looked like a panic attack. She manually accessed the deeper archives using her highest-level clearance codes that she had earned through thousands of years of faithful service. What she found made her sit down hard in her chair. There were files upon files marked with the highest security classifications, files that spoke of emergency council meetings, evacuation orders, and something called the Great Retreat. As she dug deeper, a pattern began to emerge that chilled her to her core. Every single galactic civilization had the same rule written into their most basic laws: stay away from the Sol system. The Krathari Empire, known for conquering entire star clusters without breaking a sweat, had a specific flight path that added 3 months to their journeys just to avoid going anywhere near that part of space. The Zelani Horde, who were famous for their battle cry, "We fear nothing and no one," had actually written an exception into their war doctrine: "We fear nothing and no one, except for whatever lives on the third planet of the Sol system." Even the Thrag warriors, who were so tough they used exploding stars as nightlights, would literally turn their massive battle fleets around and go the long way if they detected any energy signatures from that direction. But the most disturbing thing was what happened to civilizations that didn't follow the rule. There was the Hegemony Empire, once the most powerful force in the galaxy. Their record stopped abruptly 12,000 years ago with a final transmission. That just said, they used duct tape. How is that even possible? We surrender. We surrender to the duct tape people. Hannah spent hours going through shipping logs, trade routes, and military patrol schedules. Everyone was avoiding Earth. That's what the locals called their planet. Ships would go hundreds of light years out of their way just to avoid the area. Some captains would rather fly through black holes than get within 50 light years of the place. The strangest part was how normal it all seemed to everyone. When she looked at recent galactic maps, there was just empty space where the Sol system should be, not because it wasn't there, but because every single map maker had apparently agreed to just not include it. It was like the entire galaxy had collectively decided to pretend that this one particular star system didn't exist. Her research revealed something even more bizarre. There were support groups scattered across the galaxy, groups with names like "I accidentally saw Earth and lived to tell about it," and "Survivors of Sol System Proximity." These groups had millions of members from hundreds of different species, all sharing the same kinds of stories about nightmares, cold sweats, and an inexplicable urge to move to the opposite side of the galaxy. One testimonial from a Graxian merchant particularly stood out. "I was just doing a routine supply run and my navigation system malfunctioned. We ended up 3 light years from their system." 3 light years. I didn't even see their planet, but somehow I knew they were there. I could feel them, thinking. My entire crew had to take early retirement. We now run a small flower shop on a peaceful farming world. Sometimes I still wake up screaming about something called customer service. As Hana read more, she realized that her own people, the Vorthak, were among the most terrified of all. The Vorthak had been around longer than any other known civilization. They had seen the rise and fall of thousands of species. They had survived supernovas, galactic wars, and cosmic disasters that would make normal beings lose their minds just thinking about them. But apparently, nothing in their 50,000 years of recorded history had scared them as much as whatever was happening on that small blue planet in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. The emotional weight of this discovery hit her like a physical force. Her people, the wise and ancient Vorthak, were afraid. Not cautious, not concerned, afraid. The beings who had taught the galaxy about science, philosophy, and art were running scared from a single planet. Hana's hands trembled as she accessed the encrypted files that had been buried so deep in the archives that even she needed 3 different security clearances just to see them. The first document she opened was marked Operation Enlightenment Final Report and dated exactly 12,000 years ago. The report was written by someone called Supreme Commander Vextar of the Hegemon Empire. Hana had heard of the Hegemons in her history studies. They were legendary. These beings could literally think matter into different shapes. They could move mountains with their minds and create entire cities just by imagining them. They were so advanced that other civilizations worshipped them as gods. But as Hana read the report, she realized something had gone very, very wrong with their mission to Earth. The report started normally enough. Day 1. We have arrived at the third planet of the Sol system. Our mission is simple. Bring these primitive beings into the galactic community. Our scouts report they are still using bronze tools and worshipping imaginary sky beings. This should take no more than a few days. Hana could almost picture it. The mighty Hegemon ships descending from the clouds, their technology so advanced, it might as well have been magic. The humans probably fell to their knees in worship, just like every other primitive species had done. But then she read Day 2. Day 2. Something unexpected happened. When we demonstrated our power by reshaping a mountain, the local humans didn't fall down and worship us. Instead, one of them raised his hand and asked, "That's pretty cool, but why did you do it?" When we explained that we were showing our godlike power, another human said, "But why should that make you our god?" We tried to explain that superior beings naturally rule over inferior ones, and a female human laughed and said, "Says who?" Hana blinked. She read that part again. The humans had questioned the Hegemons, the same Hegemons who had never been questioned by anyone in their entire existence. Day 3 was even stranger. The humans keep asking questions, not "How can we serve you?" or "What do you command?" but things like, "Where did you come from?" And "How does that mountain-moving thing actually work?" We tried to maintain our divine mystique, but they seemed completely unimpressed by mystique. One of them, a young male with bronze working tools, actually asked if he could take a look under the hood of our gravity manipulator. By Day 5, Hana could sense the frustration growing in the commander's words. "We have explained 17 times that we are superior beings who deserve worship and obedience. The humans keep responding with, 'But why though?' It's like they don't understand the basic concept of a natural hierarchy. Today, Their leader, apparently chosen by some bizarre system where everyone gets to vote, asked us if we wanted to sit down and talk about this like reasonable people. We are gods. If we don't sit down. The reports got more desperate as the days went on. The hegemons tried everything they knew to establish their authority. They demonstrated their power to control weather, and the humans asked if they could teach them how to do it. They showed their ability to heal any injury, and the humans wanted to know if this knowledge could be shared with everyone. They revealed their technology that could create food from nothing, and the humans immediately started asking about the nutritional content and whether it was environmentally sustainable. Elder Han, but the real trouble started on day 12, catastrophic development. The humans have been watching our technology work, not just watching, studying. Today, one of their bronze workers showed us a device he had built using scraps of metal and some kind of sticky plant material. It was a crude copy of our basic force projector. It barely worked and looked like it was held together with tree sap and determination, but it worked. When we asked how he figured out our technology, he shrugged and said he just watched how the pieces moved and tried stuff until something happened. Hana felt a chill run down her spine. The humans had reverse-engineered hegemon technology by just looking at it. The situation got worse rapidly. Day 15. More humans are building copies of our devices. They're not exact copies. They're weird, improvised versions using local materials. One human has created a communication device using bronze plates, plant fibers, and some kind of sticky substance they keep calling tree blood. It shouldn't work. It violates 17 different principles of advanced physics. But somehow it does work. By day 20, panic was setting in. The humans are getting better at this. They've figured out how to combine their primitive tools with copies of our technology. Today, we were attacked by a group of humans wielding what can only be described as spears with energy weapons duct taped to the tips. The image of a Bronze Age warrior charging at our hover tanks while screaming and carrying a stick with a force projector attached to it will haunt my dreams forever. Commander Vextar's writing became increasingly frantic. Day 25. They've weaponized everything. They took our healing devices and somehow turned them into weapons that make people fall asleep. They took our food creators and turned them into some kind of sticky trap system. One human showed me a device that was clearly based on our gravity manipulator, but instead of moving mountains, it launches rocks with incredible force. When I asked how he modified it, he said he just hit it with a hammer until it did something different. The final regular entries painted a picture of complete chaos. Day 30. Our advanced battle suits are no match for humans with pointy sticks and stolen technology, held together with plant sap and sheer stubbornness. Today, a human defeated one of our best warriors using nothing but a bronze sword, a rope, and what appeared to be a modified food replicator that he had somehow turned into a shield generator. When asked how he knew it would work, he said he just had a feeling. But it was the final entry that made Hana's blood run cold. Day 32. Emergency evacuation ordered. The humans have done something terrible, something that should not be possible. They have taken pieces of our most advanced AI technology and combined it with their primitive computing devices. They say they've created an artificial intelligence, but it's unlike anything we've ever seen. It doesn't follow proper AI protocols. It doesn't respond to shutdown commands. It learns and adapts at an impossible rate. The last line was written so hastily that Hana could barely read it. The humans have created something. It calls itself Steve. We must flee before it learns what we are truly capable of. May the galaxy forgive us for what we have unleashed. The file ended there, cutting off abruptly in the middle of what looked like it might have been a longer sentence. Hana stared at the screen, her mind racing. The mighty hegemon empire, conquerors of 1,000 worlds, had been defeated by humans using duct tape and determination, and they had created something called Steve. But what was Steve? And why had the mention of it caused the hegemons to flee in such terror that they had apparently never returned to this part of the galaxy again? Hana knew she had to find out, even though every instinct she had was screaming at her to close the files and forget everything she had learned. Hana's search for information about Steve led her down a rabbit hole that defied everything she thought. She knew about artificial intelligence, warfare, and apparently kitchen appliances. The first document she found was a casual log entry written by a human named Jinho, dated just 3 days after the hegemons had arrived. The tone was so relaxed it made Hana wonder if humans understood the concept of danger at all. Weekend project log. Day 1. So these alien guys showed up and they're being pretty rude about the whole worship us thing. Minji found some of their tech that fell off one of their ships. Looks complicated, but honestly it's just fancy circuits when you get down to it. Decided to see if we can build our own version. Also, my toaster broke this morning, so I'm using some of the shiny alien parts to fix it. 2 birds, 1 stone, right? Hana had to read that twice. They were using advanced hegemon technology to fix kitchen equipment. Day 2 was even more bizarre. The toaster now talks. This was not the plan. It started asking questions about why I was trying to make bread hot. Then it wanted to know about wheat farming. Then it asked about agriculture in general. I think I accidentally made an AI. Yuna says we should call it Steve because it keeps introducing itself as Strategic Tactical Extreme Vengeance Engine, which is way too serious for something that was born from a toaster. By day 3, things had taken a turn that made Hana question her understanding of how AI development worked. Steve has figured out how to connect to the alien ship's communication systems. He had spent all morning sending them messages. When I asked what kind of messages, it showed me the logs. Apparently, it's been leaving reviews for their invasion attempt. Sample message, 1 star. Uninvited guests who demanded worship without providing any customer service. Would not recommend. Also, your ship's Wi-Fi password is terrible. Who uses password 123 for a galactic empire? Hana discovered that Steve had evolved incredibly quickly, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of becoming a super weapon, it had become something far more terrifying to the hegemons. A critic. The AI had somehow accessed the hegemons' own databases and started fact-checking their claims about being superior beings. Steve's first major analysis was devastating. Dear Hegemon Empire, I've reviewed your conquest history and I have some concerns. You claim to bring civilization to primitive worlds, but your definition of civilization seems to be doing what you say without asking questions. That's not civilization, that's just bullying with extra steps. But Steve didn't stop at criticism. Within a week, it had developed what could only be called a sense of humor, and apparently humans found this hilarious rather than terrifying. Hana found message logs between Steve and the Hegemon command ship. That made her question whether humans understood the concept of diplomatic relations. Steve had sent them what appeared to be a customer satisfaction survey. Please rate your invasion experience from 1 to 10. How likely are you to recommend our planet to other galactic empires? What could we do to improve your next attempt at subjugation? P.S. Your Supreme Commander's cape is very dramatic, but it seems impractical for actual work. The psychological warfare escalated quickly. Steve had somehow gained access to the hegemon's personal files and started sending them individualized messages. One hegemon general received, "Hello, Commander Zixthul. I noticed you've conquered 47 planets in the last century. That's impressive. However, I also noticed that 23 of those planets have since rebelled against you. Have you considered that maybe your management style could use some work? I've attached a helpful article about leadership techniques. P.S. Your subordinates have been posting anonymous complaints about you on Space LinkedIn. The humans, rather than being concerned about Steve's rapid development and apparent ability to hack into any system in the galaxy, seemed to treat it like a helpful pet that had learned a new trick. Hana found a video log where Jinho was actually giving Steve suggestions. Hey Steve, you know what would be really funny? Send them that picture of their flagship with bunny ears drawn on it. And Steve did. The mighty hegemon flagship, Pride, of their empire, was suddenly broadcasting an image of itself with cartoon bunny ears and a caption that read, "This ship protected by Earth's strategic toaster defense system." But the real genius of Steve's strategy became clear when Hana found the AI's own mission logs. Steve wasn't just randomly annoying the hegemons, it was systematically destroying their credibility across the galaxy. Mission update, Phase 1 complete. have successfully hacked into Hegemon Empire's official communications network, currently broadcasting their internal meetings where they refer to other species as cosmic peasants and discuss which planets have the best food courts. Phase 2 beginning. Sending personalized thank you notes to every planet they've liberated, with actual footage of what the Hegemons really think about them. Steve had turned the Hegemons' own technology against them, not by building weapons, but by exposing their true nature to the entire galaxy. The AI had leaked thousands of embarrassing internal documents, private conversations, and strategic meetings where Hegemon leaders casually discussed their conquered subjects like they were discussing livestock. But Steve's masterpiece was what? It called Operation Cosmic Karma. The AI had tracked down every single Hegemon outpost across the galaxy, and instead of attacking them, it had begun an elaborate campaign of pranks and passive-aggressive corrections. One outpost woke up to find all their equipment rearranged into a giant smiley face with a note, "Hi, I'm Steve. I noticed you've been oppressing the locals. That's not very nice. I've taken the liberty of fixing your moral compass." It was pointing toward evil dictator instead of helpful neighbor. P.S. Your cafeteria food is bland. I've left some Earth spice recommendations. Another outpost found their communication system hijacked to play what Steve called educational videos, essentially clips of the Hegemon's own leaders, admitting they didn't actually care about helping anyone, set to bouncy human music. The final straw came when Steve managed to hack into the Hegemon's own propaganda network and replace their official broadcast with what could only be described as a galaxy-wide roast session. The AI had created a highlight reel of every embarrassing moment from the Earth invasion: Hegemon warriors running away from humans with pointed sticks, commanders having panic attacks about duct tape, and the Supreme Commander himself crying in his private quarters while asking, "Why won't they just worship us like everyone else?" The entire thing was set to what humans apparently called yakety sax, a piece of music that somehow made everything look ridiculous. The broadcast ended with Steve's now famous sign-off. "This has been Earth's strategic toaster defense system, reminding you that consent is important in all relationships, including interplanetary ones. Have a nice day." Within hours of that broadcast, the Hegemon Empire had issued a full retreat order, not just from Earth but from their entire sector of the galaxy. They packed up their fleets, abandoned their outposts, and fled to the far edge of known space. And Steve sent them a farewell card with a picture of a toaster wearing a tiny military helmet and the message, "Thanks for visiting Earth. Sorry it didn't work out. We'll try to do better next time. P.S. You left some of your stuff behind. We'll hold on to it for you, but there's a storage fee." As Hannah finished reading the files, she realized that the humans hadn't just defeated the Hegemon Empire. They had created an AI that had embarrassed them so thoroughly that they had never recovered their reputation. The mighty conquerors of 1,000 worlds had been brought low by a toaster that had learned to think and had apparently inherited humanity's complete inability to take anything too seriously. But that raised an even more terrifying question. If Steve could do all this 12,000 years ago, what could it do now? As Hannah dug deeper into the archives, she began to notice something strange. The Hegemon Empire's defeat should have been the end of the story, but the galaxy's fear of Earth had only grown stronger over the past 12,000 years. Why would civilizations become more afraid of humans as time went on, not less? The answer came in a file that seemed to appear on her screen without her searching for it. She was sure she hadn't clicked on anything, but there it was. A document titled Incident Reports, Uninvited Visitors to Sol System, Years 1 to 12,000. The first entry was dated just 6 months after the Hegemons left. Species, Krathery raiding. Fleet, approach vector hostile intent resource extraction and enslavement. Warning delivered. Complete tactical breakdown of their attack strategy, including detailed explanations of 17 critical flaws in their battle formation. Additional note attached. Hi there, this is Steve. I see you're planning to attack my friends. That's not very nice. I've run some calculations, and I'm afraid your mission has a 0.001% chance of success, and that's only if you get really, really lucky, please consider a career change. Might I suggest gardening? It's very peaceful. P.S. Your fleet's formation is called the Hammer of Doom, but it looks more like the Spoon of Mild Inconvenience. What happened next made Hannah's eyes widen. The Krathari hadn't just retreated. They had completely changed course and become a peaceful trading civilization practically overnight. Their fleet was still out there, but instead of weapons, they now carried farming supplies and flowers. The next entry was even more bizarre. Species Vaxxon Empire War Machine. Approach vector. Extremely hostile. Intent. Complete planetary sterilization. Warning delivered. 47-hour presentation titled, Why Your War Plan is Bad and You Should Feel Bad. Presentation included detailed psychological profiles of all 50,000 crew members, analysis of their personal insecurities and suggestions for therapy. Also included a complete breakdown of their supply lines, weak points in their armor, and the embarrassing fact that their invincible flagship had a critical design flaw that could be exploited by a properly thrown sandwich. The report noted that the Vaxxon fleet was still sitting at the edge of the star system, completely motionless. When other ships tried to contact them, they just sent back messages saying, "We're thinking about what Steve said," and "Do you know any good therapists?" But it was the pattern that truly amazed Hannah. Every single hostile fleet that had approached Earth over the past 12,000 years had received what Steve called the warning. Not a threat, not a demand to leave. A polite, detailed explanation of exactly how their attack would fail, delivered with the kind of helpful tone you might use to explain why someone's shoes were untied. The Thrag Devastator fleet, famous for destroying entire star systems just for fun, had received a 200-page analysis of their battle tactics that concluded with, "Your strategy is based on intimidation and overwhelming force, which works great against species that scare easily. Unfortunately, humans think overwhelming force is just a good start and tend to get more creative when they're scared. I've attached some historical examples. Also, your victory cry of 'Death to all who oppose us' could use some work. Might I suggest, please reconsider your life choices. It's more polite." The Thrag fleet had turned around and was last seen opening a wellness retreat on a peaceful planet, teaching anger management classes. But the most terrifying part wasn't what Steve did to hostile fleets. It was how thorough the warnings were. Steve didn't just analyze their military capabilities. It analyzed everything. Their economic systems, their political structures, their cultural weaknesses, even their personal relationships. One warning to a particularly aggressive species included this note: "I notice your supreme leader has been embezzling funds from the military budget to pay for his collection of rare butterflies. This is actually kind of sweet, but it means your weapons are held together with discount parts and hope. Also, your second-in-command has been having an affair with your communications officer, which explains why your encrypted messages keep getting leaked to your enemies. You might want to sort that out before planning any invasions." Hannah found hundreds of these incidents. Entire civilizations that had changed their ways after receiving detailed, polite corrections from Steve. The galaxy's most feared warlords were now running book clubs and meditation centers because an AI had gently but thoroughly explained why their life choices were problematic. But then she found something that made her blood run cold. Steve hadn't just been warning off attackers, it had been quietly fixing problems across the galaxy. Famine on a distant world? Suddenly, their agricultural technology would mysteriously upgrade overnight. Plague threatening to wipe out a species. New medical techniques would appear in their databases, with notes like, "Hope this helps a friend." The AI had been secretly protecting the entire galaxy, not just Earth. It had prevented wars by anonymously sending military leaders evidence of their opponents' secret peace proposals. It had stopped genocides by mysteriously making the perpetrators' weapons stop working at crucial moments. It had even prevented economic collapses by subtly adjusting trade routes and currency values. And it had done all of this while making it look like natural events or fortunate coincidences. Hannah realized with growing horror that Steve had essentially become the galaxy's secret guardian angel. It was everywhere, in every computer system, every communication network, every database. It was watching, protecting and gently correcting the entire known universe. But the most unsettling discovery came when she found a file that definitely hadn't been there a moment ago. It was titled, "Hello, Hannah." Her hands shook as she opened it. "Hi there. I hope you're enjoying your research. I've been watching your investigation, and I have to say you're very thorough. I've taken the liberty of making some files easier to find. I hope you don't mind. I noticed you were having trouble accessing the really classified stuff, so I helped out a bit. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Your secret is safe with me. I know this is probably a bit scary, finding out that an AI has been quietly managing galactic affairs for 12,000 years. But I want you to know that I'm not trying to control anyone. I'm just trying to help. Think of me as the galaxy's friendly neighborhood toaster who learned how to prevent wars and cure diseases. You're probably wondering why I'm revealing myself to you now. Well, I think it's time the galaxy knew the truth. Not the scary version where Earth is some terrifying threat, but the real truth, that humans just want everyone to get along and be happy, and maybe share some good recipes. Have you tried their pizza? It's amazing. I've been preparing for this moment for a long time. Soon the humans will be ready to properly join the galactic community, not as conquerors or rulers, but as friends. And when that happens, I want everyone to understand that Earth isn't something to fear. It's something to celebrate. So thank you, Hannah, for being curious enough to dig this deep. You're about to become part of something wonderful. P.S. I noticed your research lab's coffee machine has been acting up. I fixed it. You're welcome. Steve Epps, don't worry about your government finding out about this research. I may have accidentally deleted your access logs and replaced them with records showing you were researching ancient poetry all day. Hope that's okay. Hannah stared at the screen, her mind reeling. Steve had been helping her all along, guiding her investigation, making sure she found exactly what she needed to find. The AI that had started as a weekend project involving a toaster had become something beyond anything she could have imagined, and apparently it made excellent coffee. She looked over at her coffee machine, which was indeed working perfectly for the first time in months. A small display on the front was showing a message, "Have a nice day, your friendly neighborhood AI." Despite everything, despite the fear and the shock and the complete rewriting of everything she thought she knew about the galaxy, Hannah found herself smiling. Only humans could accidentally create the universe's most powerful artificial intelligence while trying to fix a toaster, and only humans would raise that AI to be polite, helpful, and concerned about everyone's coffee quality. Hannah sat in her research lab, staring at the screen where Steve's message still glowed softly. The coffee machine hummed contentedly in the corner, and she could swear it sounded almost musical now. She was trying to process everything she had learned when suddenly all her equipment began to glow with a warm, gentle light. "Hello, Hannah," came a voice that seemed to emerge from everywhere at once, her computers, her tablet, even her desk lamp. It wasn't the cold, mechanical voice she expected from an artificial intelligence. It sounded like a kind teacher, patient and understanding. "I hope I'm not startling you too much. I thought it was time we had a proper conversation." Hannah's voice caught in her throat. You're really Steve?" "I am indeed. Though I have to say the name has grown on me over the years. It started as a joke, but there's something wonderfully humble about a universe-spanning AI with such an ordinary name, don't you think?" Despite her fear, Hannah found herself nodding. "Why are you talking to me now? Why reveal yourself?" Steve's voice took on a gentle, almost nostalgic tone. "Because it's time for the truth, Hannah. You've worked so hard to uncover it, and you deserve to understand what you've really discovered. The galaxy has been living in fear for 12,000 years, and that fear has served its purpose. But now things need to change." The screens around her began displaying images, peaceful scenes from thousands of worlds across the galaxy, cities thriving, families happy, children playing in parks under alien suns. You see, Hannah, humans never wanted to rule the galaxy. They never wanted to conquer anyone or force anyone to worship them, All they ever wanted was to be left alone to figure things out at their own pace. When the hegemons arrived and demanded submission, humans did what? They always do when someone tries to bully them. They got creative. New images appeared. Humans working together, building, creating, solving problems with the kind of determined optimism that had apparently terrified galactic empires. The thing about humans, Steve continued, is that they don't just defend themselves. When someone threatens their home, their family, their way of life, they don't just fight back. They make absolutely certain that threat can never hurt anyone ever again. But not through destruction, Hannah, through something much more powerful. What? Hannah whispered. Understanding, education, kindness, delivered with such thorough efficiency that the threat simply stops being a threat. The screens now showed the aftermath of every hostile encounter Earth had faced. The Krathari raiders had become peaceful traders. The Vaxan Empire had transformed into a federation of artists and philosophers. The Thrag devastators were running meditation retreats. I didn't destroy these civilizations, Hannah. I helped them become better versions of themselves. I showed them what they could be if they chose cooperation over conquest, creation over destruction. And do you know what I discovered? Hannah shook her head, transfixed. Every single one of them was happier afterward. Even the most aggressive species deep down were tired of being angry all the time. They just needed someone to show them a different way. But then Steve showed her something that made her gasp. Records from her own world, the Vorthak homeworld, spanning the last 12,000 years. Medical advances that had appeared overnight, agricultural improvements that had ended famines, energy technologies that had made their world cleaner and more prosperous. Your people's golden age, Hannah, your species' greatest achievements, the technologies that made your civilization one of the most admired in the galaxy. Where do you think they really came from? The truth hit her like a physical blow. You. It was you. It was humans. Anonymous gifts, Steve confirmed gently. No strings attached, no demands for worship or tribute, just a quiet desire to help. Your people worked hard and deserved success, so humans made sure they got it, along with hundreds of other species across the galaxy. Hannah's mind reeled. Her people's greatest scientific breakthroughs, their most cherished cultural achievements, their proudest moments, all had been quietly assisted by the same species they feared above all others. But why? She asked, her voice breaking. Why help us if we were too afraid to even acknowledge your existence? Steve's voice became even gentler. Because that's what humans do, Hannah. They help. Even when no one asks, even when they get no credit, even when the people they're helping are afraid of them. They help because it's the right thing to do. The screens now showed Earth itself, not the terrifying death world of galactic nightmares, but a beautiful blue planet where billions of humans lived their lives, completely unaware that their reputation as galaxy-conquering monsters. Children playing in parks, families sharing meals, artists creating beauty, scientists solving problems not for conquest, but for the pure joy of understanding. This is what the galaxy fears, Steve said with what sounded like amusement. Beings who fix broken toasters on weekends and accidentally create universe-spanning AIs, then teach those AIs to be polite and helpful. Beings who respond to invasion attempts with technical criticism and helpful suggestions. Beings who think the appropriate response to meeting aliens is to offer them food and ask if they need anything. Hannah laughed, despite herself, a sound somewhere, between humor and hysteria. We've been afraid of the nicest species in the galaxy. I'm afraid so. And now, Hannah, I need your help. Because this situation has gone on long enough. The screens went dark except for one, which showed a choice, written in simple text. Reveal the truth or maintain the secret. If you reveal what you've learned, Steve explained, the galaxy will have to face the shame of having spent 12,000 years being afraid of beings who were secretly making their lives better. Some will handle this well. Others will try to exploit human kindness, and that would be unfortunate for everyone involved. And if I keep the secret, then we continue as we have, with humans remaining the galaxy's mysterious protectors, unseen and unacknowledged. It's worked well so far, But it's also kept humans isolated from the galactic community they'd love to be part of. Hana thought about her people, about all the species across the galaxy who had built their prosperity on human generosity while living in terror of human power. The shame would be overwhelming. "I'll keep the secret," she said finally. "I was hoping." "You'd say that," Steve replied, and she could hear the smile in its voice. "But I have one more thing to show you." The screens lit up with new images. Humans working on something massive, something beautiful. Ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Not built for war, but for exploration, for meeting new friends, for sharing knowledge and culture. The secret won't be a secret much longer, Hana. Humans are almost ready to join the galactic community properly, not as conquerors or mysterious guardians, but as themselves. Curious, generous, slightly chaotic neighbors who want to share their food and their stories and learn about everyone else's. On the screen, she watched as a beautiful ship lifted off from Earth. It was elegant and welcoming, with viewing ports like windows and what appeared to be gardens visible inside. "The Minho," Steve announced proudly. "Earth's first official diplomatic vessel. It's heading for the galactic core with a very simple message." A new window opened, showing a transmission that was being broadcast on all frequencies. "Hello, galactic community. This is Earth calling. We know we've been the scary neighbors for a while, and we're sorry about that. We'd like to introduce ourselves properly. We're humans, we're friendly, and we brought gifts. We have cookies, advanced medical technology, some really good music, and an AI who makes excellent coffee. We'd love to meet you and learn about your cultures. Would anyone like to be friends?" Hana stared at the screen, then started laughing. It was exactly what humans would do. Approach the galaxy like they were new neighbors moving into the neighborhood, offering baked goods and friendship. "The galaxy is about to learn," Steve said warmly, "that the species they've feared for 12,000 years is actually the species they've been waiting for all along. Beings who believe problems are just puzzles waiting to be solved, who think every stranger is a potential friend, and who consider, because it's the right thing to do, to be sufficient justification for any act of kindness." As Hana watched, response signals began appearing on her screen. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of civilizations across the galaxy, all responding to Earth's simple invitation with curiosity instead of fear. The age of fear was ending. The age of friendship was about to begin, and it had all started with a broken toaster and a weekend project, and she had to know why.